Hey, what's up, fellas? This is your boy Daryl Carr once again. I just wanted to bring to you the topic restoration once again, but a little bit more informally, and just really talk to you more from a heart matter than just information itself. One of the things I realize in this world of communication, which I constantly try to strive to be better and better in each day, that no matter what the message is, how the message is received, oftentimes it depends on how it's been delivered and how the person perceived that message has been delivered. So the purpose of more of an informal basis, maybe just more personal accounts, maybe more indirect stories, not as much documentation, but just conversation with the brothers out there, because sometimes we just need it real. Sometimes we don't have that outlet that we would like to have to really say the things we're truly thinking for various reasons, be it tact, be it kindness, be it maybe just being misunderstood. So one of the reasons the restoration word popped up a lot, like I said earlier, I stated I drew a picture some 10+ years ago, and the picture had restoration, putting the broken pieces of the puzzle back together again. Well, actually putting the pieces back together again, and there was a puzzle in the backdrop. So as I reflected back on my life to today, there's a song by Jeremy Camp, who's a contemporary Christian artist, who his album was called Restored. So for whatever reason, I was going through my YouTube, whatever, pull up some music like I oftentimes do, throw it on the Bluetooth, create my own little concerts, little party environments in my home. And as I began to listen to this album Restored again, a lot of the songs just really touched me, because I had to think about myself. What would it feel like to be in a state of being restored, Daryl? What would it feel like to have a certain level of restoration in my life? Because there, regardless of what we want to admit or not, I've obtained an immense amount of pride. Some of that pride can be used very much for the good, but pride can also be very much the detriment to man fall as well, particularly when it's rooted by anger, envy, self-righteousness, pretty much most of your selfish traits. If pride is rooted in that, then typically that pride would not allow us to move very far in life, or if we do, we'll move very much alone, because we would alienate so many others. So as I thought about myself, one of the things I touched on earlier, there was the Ranker.com study about the worst qualities in a man. And I began to reflect on this, and I know who I am as a person. Yeah, there's some things we could work on, but there are a lot of good things about myself. So I'm not here to degrade anyone by any means by this. It's not meant to belittle. It's not meant to criticize. It's only meant to simply acknowledge some of the issues in our lives that may not be perfect. And as I began to go through this with my life, and that what restoration means for me, what does being restored for me? Well, one of the first things I will think to, and some guys can relate to this, some guys may not. But for me, growing up as the young guy I felt I was, oftentimes I was told I was too nice as a young man. So that kind of perplexed me a little bit, is what is too nice? What is too kind? And yes, I understand at this stage of my life what the balance is between the two. But unfortunately, because of that naivety, I would call it, in me being nice, or just unexperienced or immature, whatever you want to refer to it, as we all go through our life lessons as men. We don't just all of a sudden become a man overnight. It's a process. It takes years, it takes maturity, it takes mentorship, it takes others. But more importantly, I think it takes a self-love that some of us may or may not even reach until our manhood or adulthood. So for me, as I was reflecting on all of these things, one of the things that really resonated was the fact that I have been broken by the fact that I thought being too nice was an issue, and so I became the opposite. I became extremely hard, cold, distant. I became very protective and guarded, even against those who probably really never meant harm to me, who really care for me. But because of that wall I had built, I had allowed myself to maybe block things from reaching, I would say, the inner depths of me. And whether it was valid or not valid, hindsight is always the best teacher. However, the reason I'm bringing this conversation up to us as men, because we have to look within ourselves and see what are things that were in within ourselves that allowed us to maybe form blockades around our hearts, things that may have frustrated us, whether our parents were there or not there, whether we were adopted, whether or not we were abused, all of the life issues that we go through that we simply bury deeper and deeper into the well. And as life goes on, as we age in number, oftentimes we never address the root of the causes for some of the reason why we don't feel this certain level of restoration or being renewed. And oftentimes that's, some people may call it life. I'm not really one to just bow down to just the circumstances of life as if we have no control. For I believe we can create the reality we do desire. Not all of us are born into the same social economic status. Not all of us are born into the same parental guidance. Some people didn't have parents. Some people went through some atrocities as a young child that hinder a lot of their growth as adults. What does restoration mean for you? What does being renewed means for you? So for me, I realized just in that one example, that was one area that I was keeping a lot of people out who really desired for my best intention, but because of my pride and my unwillingness to trust, because of something someone said maybe when I was younger, I allowed it to affect me even as I was older. And that prohibited, hindered, maybe impacted relationships for the good in some cases, but oftentimes in the bad, which is why I went over the worst qualities of a man. Some of the worst qualities were things like being selfish, closed-minded, short-tempered, ignorant, entitled. Many of us feel as if we deserve certain things simply because of who we are, that our shit doesn't stink, that we're the king and there's no one else that can equal us. So in truth be told, that's just, in reality, that's not really the case. I believe we are all very similar and more things are in common than there are different. One of the other worst qualities was immature, inconsistent, being impatient, jealous, whatever that negative trait may be in our lives that we may have, that we were holding on to because of pride, because of anger, because of frustrations, because of past hurts and disappointments. I just had to realize for me at this stage, at age 44, that I can no longer move forward in my life looking backwards. And oftentimes those things we're holding on to are things that are weights in our lives. So the whole point of the restoration, to be restored, to be renewed, came about in the process of me reflecting on some of those things in my life that I felt that really were impactful, maybe even hindering some of the areas of my life that could be better. And that's all we're really trying to be. Like I say, my goal is to build stronger men. As we have stronger men, we build stronger families. We have stronger family, we have stronger children. As children grow up, they become strong men who raise strong children for generations and generations to come. And your name, your legacy is what carries on and what started it all, simply because we were willing to address issues within ourselves as men, irregardless of our pride, in an effort to become the best we can, to not only become renewed, restored, reestablished, rehabilitated, but to have complete restoration in every area of our lives. And that those around us will feel that restoration and will know that we have really put forth the effort to become as good as the best as we can be. So with that being said, this is your boy Daryl once again. Have a great evening and I'll talk to you soon.